big take. The big take. What the is this? What the hell is the big take? Did I ever say the big take in my life? My big take for this episode is going to be...
Wait, you said big again.
This is my take, I'm coming in hot, right in your face. The moment can't wait, I'm running the race and you running in place. Where you going, man? Speak with your chest, say it with pride, and move to the left. I'm known as the best, and it ain't a threat, just a promise I kept. I kick that, shoot those, you stare, shoot smoke, pass cross, I'm go. Like Messi, Naldo, Jordan, the ring zone, Tyson, the ring though, and me, Pepito.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Pepito's Take. Before we start, please subscribe below. Episode 3 with my friends here today. I have Luke Bongiorno as a guest. We've known each other for 10, 11 years. We've been through ups and downs. He was my physical therapist through the toughest times of my career. So I'm happy to have you here, my friend. Thank you. And we have Eric Degatti. I've known him for 5 or 6 years, and he was also present in those tough moments, right, man? The performance coach. He taught me so much throughout, these 5 or 6 years. It's been a ride, and we'll definitely get into our story and how we met and whatnot. Thank you guys for tuning in. I wanted to change it up a little bit. Because last podcast, last episode, I had my agent, and we were talking a lot about the players, the agents, the MLS, a lot about soccer, right? But one aspect of my career that I want to continue talking about, because I think it's important to talk about, and truthfully, it's actually therapy for me when I'm able to, talk about this stuff, are my injuries. And these two guys here have helped me out tremendously throughout every single one. Luke, I want to start with you, man, since, we go back 10, 11 years, right?
Yeah.
10, 11 years. I want you to tell us the first time we met, the story of how we all came into your physical therapy.
The first time you met. So I'd got a call from your doctor at the time, Stedman, like a few days earlier. He goes, "Can you take care of this guy, Giuseppe Rossi?" Of course, no offense, but I didn't know Giuseppe Rossi.
The offense is taken, but anyway.
And I was like, all right, now this is good. Okay, I've got this. Yeah, no, I love soccer. I've got this. I knew your injuries. You gave me a background. So Monday morning, 11 o'clock, I'm working at Columbus Circle. I got to practice there. There's people everywhere.
Yep.
All of a sudden, Giuseppe walks in. I'm like, okay. And then there's 1, 2, 3. Then your agent, your mum, your nonna, like the whole family are in. I'm like, all right, I'm being like tested here. I got the the whole entourage. And I started with nonna because it's always, she's the one that's always in charge. But
yes.
I remember feeling, all right, I love it. And this is a lot all at the same time, because I thought, this is a family, he's a family guy. And
listen, it was important, man. It was like one of my first big injuries. Let's rephrase that, actually. The first injury was in Spain, and I had it done by somebody else, right? Some guy in Spain, he screwed it up. He made the hole too big in my ACL, so then it was loose, and then it just detached again. So that's when I went to Stedman. So I'm like, Stedman, I'm in New Jersey. Give me somebody. So they know Luke. And bro, listen, I was doing very well. You don't know this stuff, Eric, so I'm telling you right now. I was doing very well, bro. I was doing very, very well. I was on top of the world. So I had to get back there, right? So, my career, yes, it's something that is important to me. I sacrificed a lot, but not only me, like my whole family did, right? So they lived through the good times, and they suffered with me through the bad times, correct? So that's why I had the whole crew come with me. I had my agents, I had my whole family. So he had a lot of pressure, right? It's too much pressure. Sorry.
That's all right. I knew that your mum looked like she liked good cafe, so I just offered her a cafe first day.
You definitely
Win the
knew.
mums, yeah.
Yep, you definitely knew. Eric, we didn't have that encounter. I came solo to you.
I feel a little disappointed now that I missed that whole experience.
Well, listen, that was like unfortunately, it was like my 4th or 5th surgery. So there was nothing new to me and all that stuff. But did I make an interesting comment to you about what you do? Remember you said something about like I studied this. Remember that?
It was the greatest insult and compliment at the same time. He were just in passing in between sets, and Giuseppe turns to me and he says, "What did you study in school?" And I said, "I studied exercise science." And he goes, "That's a thing?"
Yeah, I could hear him say that.
I had no idea. But I'm glad that you did, though, because I wouldn't have continued my career and done all the stuff that I did, post surgeries. So I know you guys like work, with a lot of professional athletes. You guys have been through the ringer with everybody, right? I know I was your first soccer client, right?
I'm a soccer expert. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's not what you told me when we first met. You thought the ball was square. So I was your first. I was your first soccer client. I know you worked with many baseball, basketball, whatever it is, football. Does it vary, right? The type of exercises that you give to a soccer athlete who has an ACL problem. Does it change if it's a baseball, football, basketball?
What really determines it is the demands that you're going to go into. What's the environment you're going to go into? Because even within your sport, the difference between a striker versus defenseman, but midfielder, it's going to be a little bit different. You like the expertise that I'm dropping right here.
Listen, you said defenseman. That's hockey terms, but it's okay. I like it.
Just when I thought I was good. I got to Google for the next one. But it's mainly the demands that your sport is putting you under and knowing what you need to be able to do. And so you have much different dynamics in terms of what you need for deceleration, what you need for acceleration, what positions you're going to get into, how much contact you're going to get engaged with. And it's basically just preparing you for that environment is really what determines it more than what position or I should say what sport it is. Because the dynamics of what you're doing is very similar to the dynamics in some other sports based more on the positions and the environment than it is the actual what the game is.
Yeah, it makes sense. That makes sense. I know. I actually do remember you telling me that you had to look at my style of play on YouTube because you had no idea who I was, and I take offense to that too. So I appreciate you guys. Damn, bro, tough crowd here. But no, it's like you had to see the way that I played, and I'm a very quick, small spaces, sprinter. So that kind of dictates what you're gonna do during my rehab session. Is that correct?
It's a big part of it, and it also explains some things that we see, like when we talk about your running mechanics, and we couldn't figure out why you're always running with one arm going like this because you're always fighting off a defender like that. So getting better, more efficient sprint mechanics was difficult because you had ingrained just these certain patterns from the position that you play.
Always hold one arm up.
I hold one arm up, but then and then my shoulder used to always come up, and then used to always I remember you telling me this because breathe. I used to always breathe. Oh man, the stuff this guy told me. This guy taught me about meditation. He got me meditating. I tried everything possible with this guy from there because listen, I'm 27 years old, right? And the first one, they botched the first, surgery, right? So I'm like, I need somebody who could start from, zero. So I was an open book, and everything this guy told me to do, I did it. You know what I mean? It's like I needed that guidance in those first, in that first year, right? Because I didn't trust anybody. After that first botched surgery, I was like, I need to find the right guy. So that's why I went to Stedman. Stedman is one of the best.
Yeah.
He reinvented the ACL surgery or something like that.
Yeah, he was innovative. He would evaluate you first. He would use his hands. He would use his eyes. He wouldn't just rely on the scans. I felt very privileged actually going in and being able to observe him in action, watch his surgeries.
Yes, you did. You came in to watch one of my surgeries.
I came out to the family after one, and they're like, oh, he's all right. It's a boy. I felt like that. I had my scrubs on.
That's crazy. No, that's great. So I had to go find.
He used his own tissue. That was the thing. That was the thing because
I didn't use a cadaver, so it was my own.
It's all you, 100% you.
Thank gosh. But yeah, I had to find the best guy. Stedman was the best guy out there, and then I needed the best one to get me through surgery to go on the field, right? So then I listened to every single word this guy said. I learned so much. He says some crazy stuff that, like I'm writing down stuff. Wisdom Wednesdays we used to do, like, because his philosophy, and you correct me if I'm wrong, bro, that as much as it is, massaging and doing movement, range of motion or whatnot, it's actually working the psyche of the athlete. Correct? Is that am I correct?
Yeah, the psyche, and as an athlete, you got to remember you're an athlete. You're a human being.
Yes.
And after a surgery, particularly because this was, you've had this before, your focus of attention is going to be on the knee. Yeah. And my job is to help that knee to feel a part of your body again so that you can trust the knee. Yes. And, we have to, play some games and trick you. Also, you like to challenge, and you're a little competitive, right? Well, we both a bit competitive. Wisdom Wednesdays were basically like we'd have our front desk girl come up with a series of questions, and we both had to.
Yes, you're right about that. And then we used to do some exercises where he would give me math problems while I'm, on the motion ball or something. So that's something that I never did before. I'm not, guys. I'm not joking. When I got injured the first time on my ACL, I was in the gym 8 hours a day. 4 hours in the morning. I had lunch. And then 4 hours in the afternoon. The same routine over and over and over again. And something that I did learn from you was that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the time that you spend in the gym. Like an hour session, an hour and a half session to 5 hours. That's not really what it means. It's the quality of work, that we do together, right? And making sure that every exercise that we do has a purpose. Am I correct with that?
100%. And it's totally and I remember when you kind of had that epiphany. It's totally about the quality and not the quantity. In that, like, we got much more done in 45 minutes than you would in those 4 hours, because we were sharpshooting. We weren't guessing, and that was why we were constantly testing and evaluating. And so we knew exactly where to go, as opposed to just, I'm going to give you every knee exercise that I ever learned and hope one of them sticks.
Yeah, that's so that was definitely refreshing for me, because it's like, this sounds stupid, but whatever. In those 8 hours of training sessions, there was times that I would get home and I would wake up with a fever. All right, you're like, why fever? Because I was putting my body through so much, stress and so much work that I would literally get up in the morning. I would literally have a fever. Whatever. It's kind of stupid, but whatever. That's true. It could happen. But anyway, one thing that I loved about our workouts, Eric, was that each workout that we had, we would always talk about food. Correct?
100%.
We could not go through one session without talking about food. I'm not joking.
Yeah, no.
What are the best restaurants? What are the best restaurants? The best type of pasta? What do people eat where I'm playing at, which was Florence, which was Ferrara. So, I had a restaurant, and I made sure that every time that I had squid ink linguine with shrimp, I would text him. And I think I texted him once or twice about it. And guess what? He showed up.
It's like putting the bat signal up.
He came in.
That's a baseball term, man.
No. Batman. The Batman signal.
Oh, I thought you said the bat signal.
Then they put the bat signal up in the air, and Batman would come to the rescue. So you got to just put a big light up with a picture of a clam, and then I come running.
So this guy was my so the beautiful part of why I say this is
that's
that
where I met you at the restaurant.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we had a we all had a hangout, and we were talking about creating a strategy or a program, right?
Yeah.
Where I would be working with you, create something to get past my latest injuries. But the beauty of that story is that during these exercises or during the sessions, it didn't have to be a stressful time. Same thing with you, right? We're doing numbers. We're writing down our DIMS and our SIMs, which means what?
Danger in me and safety in me. So all of the things that would stress him out or be a trigger.
Yes.
And then that way you're going in prepared, so that you're like, I see what's happening. It's not actually dangerous. It's a trigger. And then he would listen to music. He knew all the things that would calm you down. So
Exactly. So
You
say like
created a little list.
these things, right? Kind of made me like approach these sessions in a different way, where it wasn't stressful, where it wasn't like, oh, okay, let me go do this. But it was a pretty cool time, a cool part of my day to hang out, do feel good while I'm in the gym, but I'm not thinking about my injury, or I'm not thinking about all the crap that comes with this injury, because you guys know, and you guys probably seen it's dark, bro. It's dark when you get into these when you get injured, and there's a lot of things that are taken away from you. They're dark times, right? And you guys probably saw me at my lowest, where I came into the training session, but there was something that was bothering me. There was something that was probably triggering me. Maybe I didn't talk too much, or maybe I was talking too much, whatever it could be. There's a lot of moments during these times where it gets ugly inside. I feel like it's important to have, yes, you have your family and they support you, right? But you need somebody in that circle, in that sports world, somebody in there that can support you. And I consider you guys part of that sports world, because you guys are trying to help me get back on the field, right? I can't rely on people on my team, or agents, or teammates, right? Because they're focused on their own thing, right? You guys have been around the game, maybe not too much soccer, but in the sports world, that once you have an injury, people forget about you like this, right? In 2 seconds, right? So it's literally you figuring out a way to get back, but you can't do it alone. I need the support, yes, from family, but people in that bubble, in that world, and I was happy to found that connection with you guys, right? Because you guys are just as important for the player to feel safe in this sports environment, right? To feel safe, because I could rely on somebody, and then when you feel safe and when you feel comfortable, this process of getting back on the field is easier. And I had a conversation with my agent in my last episode, right? I don't feel Peter, he was fine, because I got him towards the end of my career. But when I got injured, the agents that I had left me for dead, literally left me for dead. So you lose a lot of trust, man. You lose a lot of trust. Have you guys, with other athletes and other sports, have you guys felt that connection with that athlete? Have you felt that connection with that athlete?
Yeah, I mean, now look, we spend a lot of time together too. I mean, you're a unique case in certainly in very significant part of my professional career and personally as well. I felt like almost became part of that family.
We were literally brothers, yeah, man.
Literally, I spent more time with you than any other human in my life at that time, literally every day. Yeah. So there are ups and downs. You get to see each other. You get to be with each other. You have your dark days. I have my dark days. There's only so much you can handle, but I can definitely appreciate that, and I think that connection is what keeps it together. When if you're having a dark day, I have to see beyond that as a therapist, or if I'm having a dark day, you see beyond that, because you trust that we have each other's best interests at heart at the end of the day. So no matter what, and it can be really confronting, because I have to teach you new things, or you're open to learning, which is great, but to present information that may not be intuitive to you, or to move you out of your comfort zone, whether it be in a physical manner, or whether it be, look, Giuseppe, just try something different. You'd be like, oh, you're trying to change me. You're trying to make me into a theater guy, not a sports guy. I'm like, no, it's about finding things that are a little different, taking you out of that comfort zone, because you know what, when you go back to that field, you're going to be out of that comfort zone. So those things can be quite challenging, but having that connection is really important, because otherwise I wouldn't be doing my job.
I see the psyche, going back to the word psyche, right? I see that psyche way of working with the player, because you're not really, with him, it wasn't really focusing so much on the soccer, but it was more focusing up here, and like how you say, get out of comfort zone and seeing the world, or seeing the world in like a different way that then could help me get back to functioning properly, having the whole body as one. Don't worry about too much. Don't worry about too much of the knee, right? Let's work on some other stuff because the whole body's connected. That's something that I learned, right?
Yeah.
The whole body's connected. The whole body is kind of like one, right?
Yeah, of
That's what you
course.
always say.
And it's like, well, all right. It can be easy. And you correct me if I'm wrong, but when you have that, it's a trauma, and
Of course.
it's your focus is, why did this happen? And you can go into that mindset of, oh, not poor me, you were very resilient like that, but still, it's naturally to go to that dark place. And it's that constant reminder, you are a professional athlete. What are the strongest parts of you? What are the parts of you that can help that out? And learn how they're connected. Once you learn that connection, you're the athlete. You know your body better than me or anyone.
Yeah.
I know the body, but you know your body. So my job is to help you, remind you of that, I guess.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
What Luke and I have is an honor and a privilege that we get the trust of someone like yourself and the opportunity. And it's you have this tremendous gift of talent that's incredibly fragile, and it can get taken away like that. And and we also know it's a very short window that we have to be on, that this year may be the last year or the next year, and everything that's weighed into that, and taking that on and saying, I have to be on. There's no filler time here.
Yeah.
Everything's got to be on point, because that's what I owe you back since you've given me this privilege, right? And so I think that's really important to understand and appreciate that. And then, as Luke kind of elegantly said, is first find out that we're going to find all the things you're really good at. That's why we do so much testing and evaluation and monitoring, to say, okay, let's really reinforce what you're good at. And so you start to remember what it feels like to feel good. So we can start to kind of get you to reclaim that identity, and then figure out a way that, in a safe and effective way, that we can then take that and leverage it even more with someone like Giuseppe, where he's very competitive, and say, how can I poke that bear and make him feel competitive again? And say, when we would use like the push device to see like your power in a step up, and I would say, and he hit a 0.8 and say, that's really all you can do. And then he was determined to get the highest score in the gym.
Yeah, because it was supposed to be one. I used to get 0.8, 0.9. I used to get pissed, man.
Yeah, no, I remember you would rise to a challenge for sure.
And so being able to do that and know the safe lanes to do it, so he can start to reclaim that identity, and then the lanes just get wider and wider, and then eventually when you really hit it, and Luke, you and I have talked about it before. If you want to tell the one story of when we knew we really got it with your last knee injury, was ironically through a really dumb ankle injury.
Yes.
Okay, so you want to tell everybody how you hurt your ankle?
Man, I feel embarrassed, but
As you should be.
Listen. I had to play pickup games, right? I had to play pickup games because I had to stay in shape. So I would call my buddies. We would play pickup games. The ball goes over, and I didn't want to waste time because it was getting dark. So I started chasing the ball. I didn't even shoot the ball, because when I shoot on goal. All right. Some guy shot it over the net. So I'm like, I'm not gonna waste our time. Bomber. I jumped the fence. There was rocks underneath. Jumped the fence. Boom. Ankle. I'm like, you son of a bee. So I finished. I played for like 5 more minutes, and I couldn't do it no more. And that was probably maybe the start of it.
Well, and then you're supposed to be leaving in 2 weeks.
I was supposed to be
In 2
leaving
weeks.
like right away.
And we had made so much
to go
incredible
to
progress.
Fedon,
Like he was just on track to, and now we got this that we have to add on top of it.
Yeah.
So we're working on his ankle. And first, after I yelled at him, say like, "You're Giuseppe Ross." Like no one else could jump over the fence to get the ball. Like so.
Yeah, I know. Which by the way,
Instinct.
I never recovered from an ankle injury as fast as I did with him. Because I remember, and you taught me a lot, and I said it to many of my, kids that I train that have these ankle problems, where, you twist whatever. It's the first day. It's about moving it and getting all that blood flow out of there and getting all the crap out of there, right? I literally I think we did outside work 3 days after the ankle, and it was about. I even got injured with my ankle training with you, doing the versa pulley I twisted an ankle doing a versus deploy. Do you remember in
I
that small little gym?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always had problems with my left ankle. I always had problems with my left ankle, but yeah, man. That was very.
So anyway,
stupid.
he has this silly injury, and then as we're working through it, we're working on the field, and because he's getting ready to leave any day, and he says, my ankle really feels good. It finally is there.
Yeah.
And I turned to him. I said, "Do you know what you haven't mentioned in about a month?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "What?" I go, "Did you forget the whole reason we were doing this is for your knee?" He goes, "Oh my, I forgot about it." So when you forget about it, we've done our job.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember that. Yes, I definitely remember that. That was actually a cool moment. That was a cool moment. And talking about that last year, I came to do some sessions. My last surgery, I did do some sessions with you, and we grinded out in the gym like crazy after my knee surgery. And that was probably, I'm gonna say that was probably the toughest, surgery to come back from. I've had 8 of them, which are a lot. But that was the toughest one just because, you're 35, right? And you're playing second division. I'm not a second division player. I couldn't wrap my head around that I was playing second division, but I had to in order for me to achieve certain goals, which was to get back to Serie A and finishing my career in Serie A. So I played in my second division. I had a good first year. And then, what happens is that when I'm finally, back and playing it, bam, I get hit with this last injury, right? And I feel like it's like a reoccurring thing. Every time I'm doing well, I always get knocked, and it just, and it's still tough to this day. Yeah, you accomplish so much and this and that. Very true, but those moments like stick with me, right? And if I close my eyes and talk about it, I could relive those emotions, but I don't want to. But they're still present. But this last one was the toughest just because, the window's small. You mentioned it. An athlete's career is short, right? And we have to take advantage as much as possible with the time that we have. And having an ACL surgery at 35, coming back from it, many people probably wouldn't do it, right? But I'm hard-headed. I'm
Really?
hard.
No,
Yes, I am.
not at all. No.
I am hard-headed, but I made a plan with myself. I made a promise to myself that we're gonna end it the right way. We're gonna end it on the field. So going into my last surgery, here's a couple of stories I'm not sure if you guys know about, but I go into my last surgery with Dr. Singleton, who took over from Stedman. The same mannerisms, the same calmness to him. I love the guy. What a guy. He actually just retired, by the way.
Oh, did he?
He just retired, yeah.
He's in Texas. Yeah.
Yep, in Texas. In Fort Worth, Texas. And I go, Doc, we have to fix this knee. I want to do one more year. One more year. I want to go out on my own 2 feet. I want people not to say that I retired being injured, but retired because I decided that I wanted to retire. So put destiny in my own hands. That's what I told the doc. Doc was like, Giuseppe, there's 2 things that are going to happen. And the only way that I'm going to know is when I go inside your knee. One is going to be a total reconstruction, which is like a year out, 10 months to 12 months out. And then the other one is a little cleanup. Make, if there's enough fibers left in the ACL, we're going to make it stronger. And that would be up to 4 or 5 months out. I'm like, Doc, I want to give me the 4 or 5 months. I don't care if I have a little bit left, just give it to me. And he's like, I will let you know only when I'm inside. I can't promise you nothing. I wake up and it's crazy. I wake up and then the doctor was like to me, Giuseppe, we didn't touch your ACL. We just made it a little bit stronger. And you're good to go in 4 or 5 months. When he said it, I started crying. Ask my mom. I started crying like a baby. Oh my gosh. It was like a sense of relief because you're going into surgery and you don't even know what the hell is happening, right? Rewind. When I was 27 years old, I got injured on my right knee, and the same exact situation happened. The same exact, where Is it going to be total reconstruction, or are they just going to touch up the ACL and make it stronger? And they touch it up and make it stronger. So on my right knee, I have 50% of my ACL. On my left now, I have 50% of my whole entire ACL. But that last one was crazy emotionally. When the doctor told me that, it was like, hey, put your sleeves up and let's get to work, right? And let's get to work. Literally tunnel vision we had. We did it. We did it because I had the right people around me, which was Dr. Singleton, which was you. Going back to what I said, you can't achieve these goals. You can't achieve things in your career if you don't have the right people around you. And that's why, man, like, I love you guys because of what you guys gave me for all these years, but especially sticking by my side through all these tough times, right? And making me live out my last goal, which was to be on the field. So there's so much appreciation. You guys don't understand, man. I hope you guys enjoy working with me.
It was a blast.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a blast. We all had our ups and downs. I didn't get into it too much with you because you have more muscles than him.
The worst was when I confiscated your phone from you.
This guy took my phone away because I was on my phone too much. I wanted to kill him. I swear, gosh, I wanted to kill him. But besides that, you were the best, bro. You were the best.
It was the first time I picked it. I turned around and I didn't look back. I'm like, and you go, okay. Look, I felt
this
like
guy made me make a scene in all New York, bro. It was crazy.
I know.
It was crazy. But those were like those emotional times where
it's just like
even if you like touch me a little bit, it was like because you like that's the moment that
took 3 days before you talked to me again.
Yeah, it took a long time.
Sorry.
I literally said to Jenna, my wife, I was like, Jenna, I'm more in the Christmas spirit this year because last year, like I was going through all this trauma, all this crap, of rehab and getting back into the game. Where am I going to go play? Because also that was a problem. Like, where am I going to go play, right? But now that I'm retired and now that I got nothing to think about but just my training with my academy, I'm able to live these moments happily and freely. So guys, thank you. If you don't know, we have a very special segment on this podcast. It's called Pepito's Hot Take. My hot take for this week is grass and turf. I know there's a lot of injuries that are happening right now. And not only in soccer, but in
NFL.
Every other sport, NBA, NFL, right? Soccer injuries are up so bad. But also, not only at the professional level, but also at youth level. And I know that you work a lot with youth, Eric, right?
Yeah.
So for me, a big factor, especially at the youth level, I feel like, is the difference of playing on grass and playing on turf. Now, my personal opinion, I prefer playing on grass 1,000,000%. I have a lot of problems playing on turf just because of the give, just because of the feel between foot, shoe, and shoe turf. I feel like my joints are more impacted each time I do play and train on turf, and I try to avoid it as much as possible, especially with my knees. But here in America, the only thing that we have is turf. Like, I can't find a good grass field. We found a good grass field, me and you, and we were able to play, even though the grass sometimes was very high. But many
days we had to wait for the guy to finish mowing the lawn before we could do it.
Tuesdays or Wednesdays, I forgot when it was. But yeah, we had to do that. But bro, we can't find a grass field anywhere to train, and we did get lucky to have at least decent grass. But I feel like not so much in soccer because there's not a lot of turf in professional soccer. There's a lot of turf in youth soccer. But to the football, I know they're complaining a lot about, the turf and the grass. What do you guys think? Is what I'm saying that turf is a lead cause of many injuries at a youth aspect? Let's talk to you about the youth aspect. Or is that just some BS?
Well, first you have to quantify the turf and the grass. So there's just even variability within turf surfaces, when you go from one field to the next, and if it has more give, if it has more fill,
Sure.
how old it is, all those things come into play. And then the same thing goes with the grass and how well it's maintained. So when they look at research of high level fields, the best of grass and turf, the research doesn't show more injuries on one surface versus the other.
Interesting.
But when you get those variabilities in there of what you're going to get at your local high school field that might not be as well maintained, or maybe if you don't have that top flight stadium, maybe they don't have it as much. And I think there's just more injuries in general. Now, that stemming down to the youth level, my thought is just a lack of preparation and way too much playing. There's very little time to put into preparation, and it's 100%. All skill based, and it's year round. And so it's not that being a single sport athlete is so much, I think, the driver as it is that you're a single sport athlete that does too much skill work and not enough, and too much competition, I should say, and not enough physical development. Now, on the professional level, that's a different story. Okay. Obviously you have travel and you have all those things that come into
different
play.
Intensities too.
But I think we also are getting, and I've had this conversation with other pros, and I'd love to get Luke's take on it, is we're almost getting to that point where we're almost too good at our job in certain situations where we're producing so much force. Players are bigger and faster and stronger that we're almost to that point where I don't know if the body's quite ready to handle those forces. So when I work with baseball athletes, players who are routinely, who are throwing a ball 105 miles an hour, who are hitting a ball 120 miles an hour, I don't know if the tissues are quite ready for those dynamics. And we're almost making them too big and fast and strong for them to keep up with.
I listened to your podcast, and you did mention that last week about that. Like, are our tissues, our muscles, our joints, are they ready for that impact that we're putting out on the field? And I know that you have something to say about this.
Well, you've just opened the door.
Exactly.
Huh? Yeah.
Please.
No. First.
I did.
No, you've opened the door because what you say is very, very important and very pertinent. And I think, we're talking about turf versus grass. I first look at the internal environment. One's internal environment. It's not just about the tissues, and this is where my work now in pain science is looking at pain and injury as not just an issue in the tissue, but it's an imbalance in the systems, and the internal systems first, and then how that plays out in an external environment. So whether you've got turf or grass. So there are a number of factors there. One thing that I've been working a lot more now in the NBA, and to your point, there's a lot of work and not as much recovery, is how do we keep those systems balanced? I start from the cardio and conditioning. In the strength and conditioning world, I'm the one that no one likes, the focus on the conditioning. Zone 2 heart rate training, just training your heart rate at a lower level. I say it's like flushing the toilet. It's getting your tissues and your heart rate. It's like a band. Your heart stays consistent, and the tissues will learn how to adapt and change. So it's an integral part of the training. And the other point on that is then allowing time for adequate tissue recovery. A lot of people then maybe they say, I better not load as much. It's okay to load as long as you're decompressing. You compress and then you decompress. So having that balance. And then the third thing, just on the turf versus grass, is that we know now when it comes to inflammation, how important you might have heard the term the microbiome in our gut health, and actually playing in nature with soil, with grass. Now, I don't know if there are a lot of studies on this. There are studies going on nature as being actually naturally anti-inflammatory. So it helps our systems work in a less stressed out state, which then might be more likely to allow you to adapt to different perturbations or things that happen in your environment. So there would be evidence to support that grass is safer from that realm that environment.
So how challenging it is, how you guys said there's not enough time for recovery and all this. How, in soccer now, there's like 10 more games added onto the calendar year, right? The NBA play every 2 days. MLB plays every single day. The football, they added an extra game this year, right? Or the past 3 years. So that has to be a huge challenge, for performance coaches, for PTs to get these players, feeling right.
Well, I'm passionate about this because
Yeah, that's right, of course. And
well, it's because are you ready? The other thing is, I work in the NBA predominantly now, I guess, and it's like marathon training. I talk to them now, the athletes now to be eligible for titles, they got to play 65 games. It's an 82 game, which is
you're right, yes.
so intense. Yeah, new rule, 65 games. And I said to an athlete that I'm working with, he's going, I want to play 65 games this year. Yeah. And I said, okay. And that's when I started to talk to him about the conditioning part. And in the off season, it's hard to tell an athlete, and you know this, how to train their bodies. They're used to things done a certain way. I have to really create a good case. And the case I used was what you do now in June, July, and August in the off season of the NBA is going to determine what we're doing now is for you in February, March, and April. And I said, it's like marathon training. I said, right now, you've got an opportunity to do something a little different.
Yeah.
Because when it's game time and when you're in season, you are locked in.
So we have to work with the windows that we have. And if that window is after a game, we got to use it for what we have. You have to be really efficient at what you do. It doesn't mean they're going in when people think, oh, you're lifting after a game. Oh, they're thinking what they do when they go to the gym, and I'm there for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Like an in-season lift, if I'm working with a team, is maybe 20 minutes, right? It's enough to keep a stimulus to keep so we don't lose everything. I have to explain, and this is a battle I have with coaches, is understand, like, how does training work is you do this challenge, your body goes, oh my gosh, if you're going to keep doing that, I have to get stronger. Well, if you take away that stimulus, it's basically telling your body you don't need to be strong anymore. So I need to have some kind of stimulus in there. And so it has to just be, you got to sharpshoot and be really precise to make sure what you're doing is effective and efficient to get in and out. Now, two other points on one on the recovery side, and obviously you're sure you see it in Luke in the NBA, is I had this discussion with somebody who does concierge PT as well. And he says what people don't talk about enough with recovery is the problem that video games present. Because guys need to unwind. You were just in front of tens of thousands of people.
Okay.
Right? You're buzzing. Right? So that's why working out afterwards, you can take advantage of that adrenaline. And you need something to wind down. And then you have travel and you have so forth. And so a lot of guys are using video games, but it's leading to take away from the biggest recovery factor, which is sleep. And so now if we don't have that sleep and to how do I manage it is that we explain, like, there's only so much of Giuseppe to go around. And so I have to know when I dose my exercise that I only have to work with what you're providing to me. I can't just have a workout plan that's not malleable to whatever you're bringing to the table.
Exactly.
The other factor, I think, going back to injuries and turf, is that most of the metrics we look at are on production, force production. How much can a person bench, or how fast can they sprint, and how high can they run? Yeah. But really, one of the biggest metrics that it's hard to really measure is their ability to put their brakes on. And that's a big factor when you're talking about when most of the injuries happen is when people are cutting, when they're planting, when they're changing direction, when they have to slow down or stop. Yeah. And if you don't specifically train that, and we've done endless deceleration drills, probably way more deceleration drills than anything else, to get you to be able to learn how to use your brakes. And that is not something that is commonplace. If we don't teach you the brakes first, then not only are you going to increase your risk for injury, but it actually takes away from your ability to produce force, because you're gonna have a better turnover of being able to change directions and absorb that force and reaccelerate. But if you don't train the brakes, that's a big hole in your training that can lead to a lot of injuries.
No, that's definitely something that I learned during our sessions, and I'll never forget the running backwards. And one thing that I did learn from you are those backward runs, right? Those backward runs. I feel like that correlates a little bit, right, with like what you're talking about. The D cells are just kind of like, finding a different way to, I don't know, get your body used to something something different than what the usual part is. And I went to work out last week after a session. I did our A side, B side, the 1, the 2s, the 3s. I did the sprinting backwards. I did the lunging backwards, right? Like where you put your foot back. I did the Dion's. I learned everything we did. Everything we did. I actually did it last week, and I thought of you.
Yeah, I love it. And you know what was the coolest part of that preparing for that last season?
Yeah.
And I would say it to you all the time, and you thought maybe I was just trying to like pump you up or something, but I truly believe in all the years I knew you, that was the fastest and most athletic I've ever seen you in all the years I've seen you. Because it was also the biggest window of preparation that we had. We could really do, most of the time it was patchwork and, hey, I got to be ready in a couple weeks or a month. Yes. But we had really a good length, and it really, I believe you were the fastest and most athletic from the time I met you when you went into that last season. And then finally when you went out, you're like, everybody's commenting like, wow.
Yeah, they did. I touched 31 kilometers per hour, which I don't think Bro,
31.
31.
Wow.
It was crazy because we were our GPSs and we have all the data. And I touched 31 in my first month of training. And I texted you, right?
Yeah.
I was like, bro, I did 31. Everybody thinks I'm so fast right now. Thanks, bro. Thank you. But yeah, that was a great accomplishment. A lot of knowledge, guys. A lot of knowledge. I hope everybody who's listening was able to take in all this information. It was a privilege, like I said, to work with you guys. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Giuseppe.
Thank you for the honor and privilege.
Thanks, guys.
Great.
I will see you guys next week. Thank you for tuning in. Ciao.
This is my take. I'm coming in hot, right in your face. The moment can't wait. I'm running the race and you running in place. Where you going, man? Messi, Naldo, Jordan, the ring zone, Tyson, the ring though, and me, Pepito.